Hi, I'm Megan Wagner. I'm here with Steve Pope, and we've been collaborating for quite some time now on creating courses on the sacred Hebrew, mystical Hebrew, and then we did this fabulous class on reclaiming the goddess from the distortions of patriarchy. And for me as a woman, it was such a powerful time for me to reclaim for myself the divine feminine mysteries, which I've been working with for over 20 years now. And it was after that class, we had three classes actually on Mary Magdalene. And, you know, I've been working with that Mary Magdalene energy for quite some time. And it was after that class that I got inspired actually to create a sacred robe with the image of Mary Magdalene. And you can see it behind me, she's here. And there's a photograph of her that you can really look at and see the image that this is how she appeared to me in a vision, and then asked me to animate her on a sacred robe. And for me, it's been such a powerful reclaiming of my own feminine spiritual authority and feminine spiritual power. And you know, I really thank you, Steve, so much for helping me to understand the name Magdala and what it means from a deeper spiritual perspective. And it's helped me so much to move from seeing Mary Magdalene as a figure out there to an energy and a spiritual energy that I can embody within myself. Of course, men can too. To embody this force, this creative energy inside of me so that I can claim that Magdala energy for myself. So I would love to have you elaborate more on your understanding of Mary Magdalene, the name that she carries, and what it means for us in terms of entering more fully into the divine feminine mysteries.
Yeah, what you say resonates with me. As a man, I came into, how can I put it? Yes, she arrived in my consciousness when I was writing my book called Patterns of Creation, which is um, it's about the Gospel of John, and I go through the inner meanings and the Kabbalistic references all the way through the opening chapters and the ending. So I realized, of course, that she was the spine of the book. And as I was drawing the diagrams for that book in the sacred geometry, I realized that she was not only the spine of the book, the link between the Christ consciousness and as the feminine aspect of that Christ consciousness, or Mashiach consciousness in Hebrew, bringing that through into formation and the world, the physical world, the manifest world. And therefore she was and is my own awakened spine. And the fact, whether I'm a man in a male body or a female body is secondary. So it's important for men to understand this too, the power of how she is, what I could call her, the fortified conduit of consciousness from the divine within the heart through the spiritual universe of creativity that's within you now, with each breath that you're taking, that becomes your biosphere, your psychosomatic, or your soul, if you like, in which your psychosomatic body emerges as this moment now. And so she is that sustaining connectivity and an ability to hold the full consciousness, the infinite potential of that within you to become fully conscious as a fully realized human being. So for me, she's essential to all of our awakening into conscious presence and the fullness of life.
Beautiful. And that's what inspired me on the robe. The images on the robe, she has a diamond in her heart, and a diamond in her third eye. And so what she's been teaching me through her transmissions is that as we awaken the heart and third eye, it activates all of the jewels or chakras on the spine, and then we become that fortified tower.
Absolutely.
Also, the two DNA spirals that are on either side of her image, again, are, to me, are the potential for us to fully awaken our DNA and become a fully realized human. And that's why I put the DNA spirals on the image. So
Yeah.
again, it's that tower, fortified tower, or the watchtower of consciousness. So that's what inspired part of the image.
Yeah, I mean, just to say the image that you've brought through is quite incredible to me, because it encapsulates very well and succinctly what we were looking at in all of the lessons. So the ability for us to become more conscious of who and what we are as spiritual beings within a form, a temporary form, brings an actual change in the structuring of our DNA, our bodies. Yes, it literally goes into our cells and into our atomic structure.
Well, that's really what I'm getting from sitting with the robe and meditating with her every day, is that she's bringing a powerful alchemy of awakening.
Yeah.
And that the fire in her crown helps us to awaken. The third eye, I call that the air. The water is her veil that becomes a river of stars. And then the earth at the bottom is her pouring out that life force energy onto the earth, which becomes the tree of life and becomes all of the flowers and the bees and all of creation. So to me, there's the alchemy of fire, air, water, and earth that we can utilize in our full awakening process.
Absolutely. And very important point that you bring up in this is that one of our responsibilities is to be consciously present, co-creatively with the rest of life. And so she really represents that ability to, which is not easy when we have to witness so much needless destruction of the environment and willfulness really to continue this life negating behavior. So she, for me, gives me the ability to witness this and not be overwhelmed by it, and to continue to support all the other life forms, just as they support us.
Yeah. Can you say a little bit about how the Mary Magdalene spiritual energy is the counterpoint to the awakened Christos energy?
Well, she is the divine feminine counterpart to Yeshua or Joshua or Jesus in the Greek. They are not, she's not the wife of Jesus. She is in her own right a spiritually awakened human in the feminine form who holds the messianic consciousness and reflects that back to her masculine counterpart. Together, they form the fully realized human being who consciously embodies both the masculine and feminine principles and is able to partner and companion people regardless of gender, but to companion our fellow human beings through life.
That's so powerful, because I can tell you as a woman, it's been in my early years kind of immersed in patriarchy. It was very hard for me to imagine myself as a Christos because it was never in a feminine form. And so when I've been working with Mary Magdalene, it has increased the possibility exponentially for me to claim that that energetic, that position inside myself so that I can see myself as embodying the Christ energy in a feminine way. So that's been really helpful for me as a woman.
Yeah, well, and what you bring up a very important point is that not many people understand that she's in the Hebrew texts of, for example, the Song of Songs. She's a central character of the Song of Songs, the fortified tower of consciousness, or the fortified conduit of consciousness between the divine and the coming through the creative spirit into the soul, and from the soul into the mind and body, and holding that consciousness as a multi-dimensional being
Right.
in a multi-dimensional universe. And so she embodies the Mashiach or Christos energy, depending on whether you're using Hebrew or Greek.
Yeah.
And is the teacher, an initiator of consciousness in humanity.
Yeah.
That's what she embodies.
I love that. And a couple things is one, again, we tend to project her outside of ourselves and think of her as a character who lived 2,000 years ago. And you keep bringing us back to bring her back inside of yourself, because it's actually a mechanism of spiritual awakening rather than a person. And the other thing is that when I think of Magdalene, I think of that as like a high priestess lineage. I feel it as a lineage, actually. And anyone who wants to stand up and be the fortified tower, the awakened humanity, that then we say to ourselves, I'm standing in that lineage. And that to me has helped to internalize her as an internal figure rather than externalizing her.
Yeah, that's a good point, because then you're bringing through the ancestral wisdom that goes back before recorded history, that's embedded into humanity, and that is to really understand that you're supported, you're not alone, and you're not cut off from this deep creativity that is part of our inheritance as human beings.
Wow, really, really important for us to stand in that truth, and to awaken fully, and to allow this divine feminine energy to initiate us into every step of our evolutionary consciousness. Because what I hear you saying is that she represents, or Magdalene represents, our ability to hold awakened consciousness within the body, and to be fully connected, embodied on planet Earth, and to be fully connected, embodied with our multidimensional higher self, or divine self, spiritual self. So there's something about being the conduit of this multidimensional reality, and to be fully incarnated on the earth, and to enjoy our
Yes.
life on planet Earth.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the Song of Songs, she's called the lover of life, the lover of this moment now, the lover of being alive in formation and the physical. We're not, some people say to me, well, we're here, aren't we here to work out our karma? And my answer is, well, we're here to be alive as life. If we stop forming karmic situations, then we don't have to spend all our time working out karma. We are here then to embody the great beauty of the unfolding of life in human form. And, to reflect that back with gratitude and joy to the rest of creation.
Yeah. One of the truths that Mary Magdalene has been showing me is that that her river of stars, she calls it the river of blood, or the river of stars, or the river of life. And one of the things that I've been encouraged to do is to imagine myself standing under that river of stars and allowing self-forgiveness to just flow through. It's like a waterfall of forgiveness. And
Yeah.
that really clears away the karmic distortions. And so I would just encourage us all to stand under that river of forgiveness and allow that to wash through, clean through, and then we're more available to live life fully on planet Earth. So that's one way to think about clearing karma quickly, is actually doing as much self-forgiveness as we can. And then that clears and cleans the vessel. And that's what Mary Magdalene is showing me, to clear and clean my vessel so that I can be open receptacle for the star energy, which is my cosmic self, my spiritual self, and to then bring that into the earth and pour that energy out into my life in every way I touch people and situations, in a place where I'm in transpersonal love rather than distortion or self-hatred, or the psychological distortions that we get into. And so
Yeah.
what she seems to be encouraging is just clear all of that psychological distortion away and be present with your whole being with no distortions.
Yeah, and that's a really, what you've just said is beautiful, because I mean, when you think of the third eye and it's connected into the heart, so she embodies peace, real peace, and she embodies love, which has no opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And if you put the two together, then she is completely focused on dealing with the challenges of life outside of creating more distortions and perpetuating those distortions. So she then gives us the ability to become a part of this. One of her names means the watchtower, the one who is awake and aware. And instead of, as you put it so beautifully, I'll just say it very briefly, creating and forming more distortions and adding to them, we are there to be a clear pool, if you like, of consciousness. And so the clearing happens in the moment, and we take that on every step of our journey.
That's beautiful.
It does demand us, if we call it a demanding, it is a demand that we stay awake. We don't slip back into the unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to me, that's not really demanding. What's demanding is slipping back into the unconscious all the time and finding yourself in another situation that you've been through 1,000 times before.
Right. And the reward is awakened consciousness, joy, being in the flow of life, synchronicity, alchemy, all the joys of being fully awake. Then
Absolutely.
we get
Yeah. And sorry, I just wanted to say, because neither of us are trying to, make everything look sweet and wonderful. Life is meant to be challenging. Life is about challenging us to evolve, spiritually speaking, and become this conscious awareness. So what we're talking about, I feel, is we are directing our energy into this moment now, and a determination, if you like, or to be part of this co-creative flow of life that is coming from the divine as this moment now, and it's in you now. It's not some other time or some other place.
Right. This is great. So why don't we end here? This is a great introduction to Mary Magdalene and the encouragement for each of us to be fully awakened, and then to enjoy the fruits of awakening, which is joy and connection and communion. So thank you so much for introducing us to this. I know that we're going to have a lot more, we'll probably have classes on it, and because people are so interested in this right now. They're just awakening to this Magdalene consciousness, and they're being drawn and attracted to it. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to more studies around it. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you. Me too. Yeah. Thank you.